Welcome back, fight fans. We're back again here to talk about last week's card, UFC Kansas City. And we're back in the Apex on Saturday, UFC Vegas 72. I think it's UFC Vegas 72. Honestly, haven't really seen if that's been confirmed yet or not. 71, 72, 73. I don't think it's 70. I think we passed that. So yeah, I'm not really sure, but I think it's 72. I'm pretty sure about it. But anyway, so we'll get into that after the first break, after we talk about UFC Kansas City. So we'll open up with that, with last week's card. And that opened up with Jocelyn Edwards, Lucy Pugilova, another split decision on the road. I mean, these really do happen quite a bit. They really, really do. And to be fair, going into it, I figured it was going to be fairly close. Wasn't really sure who was going to get it. Was definitely going towards the Pugilova direction, though, just based on the grappling and what we saw in the other fights. But open up with that. So Pugilova opened, of course, with the grappling as expected. Immediately met with some boxing from Edwards. Edwards looking pretty good on the feet, and then was pinned to the canvas. This continued for the next few minutes. Edwards did eventually get back up. Obvious round for Pugilova in the first. The second round, wow. This happens every single time I start talking, I swear. It's not like I do this 24/7, just, hiccuping and whatever, like, and clearing my throat all the time. It's only as soon as I start this. Terrible. Edwards looking all right again in the second round, landing at a distance, but was then pinned on the canvas again. And really, it was Pugilova pinning her. Like, it was just, she was on top the entire round, controlled her the entire round. I mean, like, I'm not even kidding when I say it was like, okay, this is like clearly Pugilova's winning this, which means that I made the right choice, grappling. Clearly not, Edwards is not that great at grappling, which, I mean, again, saw that in a couple other fights, knew she was going to struggle with this. So a pretty obvious, and I mean like dead obvious, 2 rounds up, 2-0. The commentators agreed the whole time. They were like, well, this is clearly going Pugilova's way. Edwards isn't really doing a whole lot. No output really at all the second round. Even the first round, not really much at all from Edwards. And I really want to drive that home, that this was 2-0 for Pugilova at that point. Third round, confidence from the opening rounds, obviously. Pugilova walked forward, starting to push Edwards into the fence. Wasn't getting the takedown this time, but Edwards still struggling to land. But this round was a lot tougher to score, I will say. Pugilova didn't get a takedown the whole round and didn't really land all that much. But she was definitely pressuring Edwards the whole time. I mean, Edwards was landing a little bit more. So that one, okay, fair enough. I had it 29-28 Pugilova. That's seemed like a pretty obvious scorecard, maybe a 30-27, but probably not. Probably more 29-28. And then we were given one of the absolute worst decisions of the entire year. Edwards wins 29-28. 28-29 the other way, of course, Pugilova getting one of the cards, and 29-28 for Edwards. I'm not even joking. That is truly one of the worst decisions I've ever seen. I actually laughed out loud when I heard the judges when I heard the judges scorecards. It was just like, to hear something that's that blatantly wrong. I mean, in the first fight of the night too, it's like, oh wow, like we're in for some rough calls tonight. I feel like that's what we're going to be seeing. Thankfully, that was the only like truly awful one of the night, but wow. Really one of the worst decisions I've ever seen ever. And again, I was not the only person that thought that. Again, you don't normally hear a whole lot from Cormier or Anik, or I forget who was the other one now off the top of my head who was there. But you don't normally hear a lot of it, a lot of stuff from them about that's a bad decision. It's normally like, okay, it's a bit iffy. But no, this was like they were like, "Whoa!" Like, what are you saying? And they would not stop talking about it. And like even in the next fight, they were talking about how bad that was. And even throughout the rest of the night, they were talking about how awful that was. That it probably was it might have been the worst decision of the year so far. Truly made absolutely no sense whatsoever. I mean, it was just I still don't even have words for how just outrageous of a scorecard that was. And I even went through it. I was like, there is absolutely no offense coming from Edwards at all the first two rounds. How could you even think of scoring it the opposite way? It makes no sense. Absolutely no sense. Outrageous. So, second fight, we're leaving that one behind. So, yeah, Edwards wins split decision. Unbelievable. Second fight, we had Gaston Bolaños and Aaron Phillips. Figured it was going to be close going into it. Wasn't really sure which way to go. Slow pace at first. Bolaños, the one landing better early, looking quick. I mean, I think he was undefeated going into this. After a while, really started to land. Stumbled Phillips onto his knees a couple of times. Every time Phillips moved forward, he basically just got clipped by Bolaños. Couldn't really get anything going at all. So obvious Bolaños round. Second round, Phillips started to go to his grappling. I mean, obviously the striking wasn't working for him. Bolaños got back up, but was taken down a second time. This time he really got control, took the back of Bolaños, sunk in a deep choke. Eventually he did get back up, landed some kicks, some ground and pound actually, on Phillips. And then a late flurry there from Bolaños. Could have stolen the round back. Could have gone either way though on that round. Yeah, wasn't really sure which way that was going to go. Third round, knew he had the grappling advantage, obviously. Phillips did. Went for the grappling right away. Smart. Bolaños got stuck in another pretty bad spot and in a submission attempt, but he did slip out of it and started landing some heavy ground and pound. Phillips was on his back at that point, so you think, okay, well, Bolaños is probably winning this round again, possibly. Looked bad again at one point, though. Maybe Phillips stole the round back in the third. I wasn't really sure. And I even wrote, I was like, I honestly had no idea who won, especially with the way the first one was scored. I had no idea how this was going to be scored. I thought probably 29-28 Bolaños, but I thought really 29-28 either way would have made sense. I didn't agree with the 30-27, really. I don't know. I mean, I will say, I guess you could have scored it 30-27 because looking back, I did say second and third was close and could have gone either way. So by that logic, could have been 30-27, but 29-28 made a lot more sense though, because yeah, I figured, Phillips kind of deserved at least one of those rounds. I don't know. But again, you score it round by round, could have ended up with a 30-27. In the end, it was 30-27, 30-27, 29-28. I guess can't really argue too much with that. But, like I said, I kind of, there was an argument to be made that Phillips could have won that. I don't know. Anyway, so that was Gaston Bolaños winning in his debut against Aaron Phillips. Third fight, Denise Gomez, Bruno Brazil. I'm happy to say that I got this one 100, well, not 100% right. I didn't think she was going to get a TKO. I thought she was going to get a submission, but I did get the Denise Gomez under 2.5. Nailed it. Absolutely fucking nailed that. I mean, I just wasn't really all that impressed based on what I saw from Brazil on the Contender Series. I think she's solid, but I mean, the opponent on the Contender Series was just like, you don't belong here. I'm sorry. Like, no. She was way smaller than Brazil. Didn't look good at all. I mean, it was just a complete mismatch. So it was like she should have won that way faster. And because she didn't, it was kind of like, oh, you're probably not as good as people kind of think you are if you're not finishing that opponent any faster. Whereas Denise Gomez had some tough fights going into it. Figured she was tested a lot more, looked a lot better. So I ended up going with Gomez and we nailed that. Like I said, nailed it. Nailed it with the under as well. Wild start to the fight with kicks. Brazil landed a good one, then dropped by the return kick and combo from Gomez. They say Gomes, but I don't think that's right. I think it's Denise Gomez. But anyway, I don't know. I could be wrong. Pushed her into the fence, controlled her with clinch strikes. Brazil trying hard to get a takedown, didn't get it. Got hit by a lot of clinch strikes, though. Then got walked down and hit hard by Gomez a couple of times. I mean, it was clearly Gomez winning the first round. It wasn't even close. Second round, Gomez pressuring forward again, pushed her into the fence, another takedown, good clinch strikes along the fence. Brazil then on her back, Gomez controlling the whole thing, dropped her a second time, landed ground and pound until the ref stopped it. Amazing win for Gomez. I mean, she really is definitely one of those ones to watch out for sure. Because even though, like I said, I didn't really think Brazil was as impressive as people thought that she was. Um, but I mean, she still looks good. She still looks good. Don't get that wrong. It's just Gomez looks better and looked better before that. So we made a good pick there. Next one after that, Daniel Zellhuber, Lando Venata. I mean, the safe pick was obviously Zellhuber, and I think we ended up putting him in the parlay as well. Yeah. And he did look good for the most part. Again, still not as impressive as a lot of people thought he was going to look. Because he did look really, really good coming into the UFC. Now it's kind of like, okay, I think we might have actually, I don't think he's peaked. I mean, he's obviously still really young, still a lot of room to grow, but I think the ceiling might be a little lower than we kind of maybe thought it was. Zellhuber looked good, or big early, I should say, walking forward. Venata trying to keep him back with the kicks. Venata made the first big move, going for takedowns. Didn't really get anything, though. Zellhuber then hit him with some massive shots, stumbled him quite a bit, rocked him, dropped him down to the canvas. Huge flurries from Zellhuber trying to get a finish, and to be honest, I think the ref could have easily stopped it in the first there, but the ref really did let it keep going. And it was a pretty clear 10-8. I mean, it was getting pretty bad. And by the way, that's really important to point out that it was a very, very clear 10-8. I don't really know how you couldn't score that a 10-8. I mean, it was actually like, I'm surprised that he stood back up and kept fighting after that. That's how bad it was. Second round, Zellhuber looked dangerous early again. I mean, he knows that he's close to a finish. You got to keep going. Venata not backing down, though, landed a clean shot, some crisp combos, and Zellhuber struggling to land now. Venata actually stealing the momentum. Slow pace from both guys near the end of the round there. Then it kind of exploded in the last minute. Wild flurries. Lando actually doing better, even sweeping out his legs, and probably won that second round. So it seemed like a pretty clear 19-18 at this point. I don't really know how else that you could have scored that. I mean, it just seems so obvious that it was like, okay, or at the very least, not at the very least, it could have been 2017. But I mean, again, obvious 10-8 in the first round. Second round seemed to be fairly clearly Venata. And this is what I was talking about, where it was like maybe the ceiling isn't, isn't quite as high as we thought. Because somebody who is like, okay, he really, really is going to be in the top 15 soon, would have gotten the finish for sure. Guaranteed he would have gotten the finish at that point, but did not get it. Third round, Zellhuber came out again, crazy, going hard for a finish. Stumbled Venata into the fence. Everything slowed down from there, though, again. I mean, every time Zellhuber was pushing hard, then just the activity went off a cliff after that. Landed some quick kicks, looking good. Venata still fighting back, but not necessarily doing anything big at this point. I mean, Zellhuber obviously, obviously not pushing as hard as he did at the start of the round or even in the first round or part of the second round, but still doing enough to win the round basically at this point. Venata landed a decent combo to close, but was then briefly taken down. And really, I actually thought the last round could have gone either way. And I wrote down here, at worst, could have been 28-28, because there's no way that you're going to give it to Venata after that first round. That was, like I said, obvious 10-8, a clear 10-8 round. I don't really know how much more clear you could get of a 10-8 round, but I said probably a 29-27 for Zellhuber. And what did we see? A 30-27, which, okay, I don't I don't agree with that at all. I think that's kind of shocking, but no. 29-28, shocking for a different reason, because again, pay attention, in neither one of those there was no 10-8 round, which is laughable, to be honest. I mean, truly, what do you have to do at that point in those judges' eyes? What do you have to do to get a 10-8 round? Because any closer to if he did anything more, the ref was calling it off. So that's a finish at that point. So how do you score a 10-8? Like, is there just no in between now? Are we just doing 10-9s or it's a finish? Like, what are we doing here? That is as obvious of a 10-8 round as you could possibly get. So when I saw that, it was like, oh my God, like what are these judges actually watching? We need to seriously start figuring this out. And then there was one that said 29-27, which is correct. Like, that is just correct. That is right. That is a correct assessment. And I mean, I would have said that to 29-27. I would have said that to 28-28. I would have said that was right too. That's fine. But 29, if you're not scoring that first round 10-8, I don't know what you're doing at this point. Fight number 5, the Canadian Jillian Robertson, Pieta Rodriguez. This one I actually did get 100% right. I said Jillian Robertson submission in the second round. Absolutely fucking nailed that. And yeah, I mean, she really is, I would say, like, criminally underrated, Jillian Robertson. She really, really is. Robertson walking forward, of course, looking for the takedowns early. Pieta landing some combos, not really slowing down Jillian at all. Pieta standing her ground, keeping Jillian back. I mean, she's kind of just doing all she can to not get just rushed by Jillian Robertson there. And weirdly, it was actually Pieta that got the first takedown. I don't really know why you would even think of doing something like that. Seems pretty stupid when Jillian Robertson is her only chance of winning this, and most fights. I mean, not only chance, but you know what I mean. She is a ground specialist. Why are you going for a takedown? Like, we've talked about terrible game plans before. I don't think you could have had a worse game plan than going for a takedown right there. Jillian then got back up and found herself on top. What do you know? Like, again, obvious, huge mistake. Now controlling the grappling, of course. Jillian looking for a sub, landing some ground and pound. Obviously won the round. I mean, the ground and pound. She really does look for finishes all the time. And that is what you gotta do. I love that. And also, that's just how the sport works. And especially in terms of the scoring, you have to look for a finish all the time. what are you doing if you're not looking for a finish? So amazing from Jillian Robertson, first round. Second round, pretty quick takedown from Robertson. Less than 10 seconds in, she was already on top. I mean, again, that just speaks to how good she is on the ground and getting the takedowns in general. And she really is good at getting the takedowns, which is why I knew she was going to win this. I mean, I didn't even really think this was going to be too tough. Robertson dominating early all over her. I mean, it really was not even close. Landing some elbows, continued literally the whole round until it was done, that is. Then Robertson quickly switched over to an armbar. A little bit of controversy because, I mean, Pieta clearly tapped. I mean, she said she didn't, but it was like, you went like this. That's a tap. I don't know what else you could call that. I don't know. But anyway, she said she didn't tap. The ref stopped it. I mean, it was, I will admit, it was obviously a little bit of a weird stoppage from the ref himself because he saw the tap, said, "Was that a tap?" Like, he didn't say it out loud, but kind of thought to himself, like, "Is that a tap?" Waited a second or two, then jumped in and then stopped it. Um, I mean, it is a weird stoppage, but at the same time, it's kind of like Robertson. It seemed like she even felt the tap and kind of was like, okay, I'm not going to keep, I'm not going to try and break her arm. She obviously just tapped. So I'm just waiting for the ref to stop it. That's to me what it looked like. And even so, if the fight kept going, she wasn't getting out of that. Like, what was it going to last? Another 5 seconds until she snapped her arm in half? Like, what? I don't really understand where the argument was coming in that it was an early. I mean, like, okay, it was like 5 seconds early. I don't, or it was either 5 seconds early or it was 2 seconds too late. Like, there's no in between. It was either a couple seconds early. I mean, 5 seconds early where she was going to break her arm in half, or it was 2 seconds too late where she tapped the first time. So it's like I don't really understand where the argument's coming in. I mean, Robertson was clearly going to win either way. I don't know. That one was a bit of a weird one. I don't know. It just was an obvious win for Robertson, which is great to see because I think we all know the Canadians have not been doing well. So it's great to see one Canadian that's actually succeeding and doing really well. Amazing. Amazing to see. Yeah. After that, very interesting fight. Zach Cummings, Ed Herman. Herman walking forward, quickly walked straight into a huge punch, got wobbled, then got dropped and on his back by another one from Cummings. Cummings just lighting him up all over him, looking for a finish. Uh, and there was a weird kind of stoppage from a kick, and they ended up standing them back up, which blatantly wrong decision by the ref. And they actually did check the rules on this. They even had the head umpire come in and say to the commentators that, hey, you're right, that actually they were supposed to be on the ground after the ref mistakenly stood them back up. That is not what's supposed to happen. So because it was an upward kick, I should have said it was an illegal upwards. What is that? What is it called? What is it? Illegal? Yeah, illegal up kick. That's what it's called. Illegal up kick. So because the illegal up kick, it's like that would just be benefiting the guy that did the illegal up kick, standing them back up. That's benefiting the guy who did the foul. So clearly, just based on logic alone, they should have been on the ground still. So huge mistake by the ref there, but whatever, moving on. Herman started to land some big shots, really coming back, actually. I mean, both guys throwing massive, massive shots. Cummings landed a couple more big ones. Plus, that opening knockdown seemed like a pretty clear round for Cummings. I don't think he really could have scored it any other way. Second round, Herman came in hard with a combo, then pushed into the fence. Cummings then landed another big one, knocked Herman down again. Close exchanges again. Then Cummings dropped Herman to his knees with a leg kick, and then another huge knockdown from Herman, on Herman, I should say. Looked like he was out on the way down. Like he actually looked like he was knocked out as he was falling down. Still made it out of it though. Cummings using ground and pound, trying to get that finish. Another illegal kick, illegal up kick from Herman. That's the second one. Did get the point taken away, so that was correct. I mean, that was obvious. I mean, you do the same huge foul twice, even though it didn't really do any damage either time. It's still the same foul twice, and it's not one of those, silly fouls where it's like, okay, whatever. Like I don't even know what a silly foul would be at this point, but it's not like any of those other fouls. Like this is like an up kick can get like you can get a knockout from an up kick. So you don't want to throw those illegally. That's not good. And for the second time in the fight, the ref made the exact same mistake, stood them back up. That is once again completely wrong. That's just not how it's done. Again, that would benefit Herman, who did the illegal up kick. Obviously, they should have been on the ground again, but they were stood back up. So again, another massive mistake by the refs. And I mean, we're talking about all of these huge mistakes, and they really are massive, massive mistakes. Thankfully, it didn't really affect. Well, it didn't affect this fight. I mean, it did affect Lucy Pudilova losing her money and her momentum going out of that fight. I mean, it's just absurd. It's ridiculous to just take somebody's win away like that. But this, I mean, you could seriously have some huge safety concerns if you do stuff like that, and you can really affect the fight by standing them up at the wrong time. I mean, like, what if then Herman got a knockout right after that? He would have literally gotten the knockout all because the ref stood them back up when he wasn't supposed to. It happens. And we actually did see that happen a couple months ago where it was argued. It wasn't correct. It wasn't a correct argument, but it was argued. I forget whose fight it was, but the fighter was stood back up and then was knocked out less than a minute after that, or a couple minutes after that. So it was actually a direct result of them standing the fight back up. But the rules actually supported what the ref did in that scenario. So that one was actually correct. Oh, it was after a fence grab too. So the ref was actually correct that time. But you can see it does happen. You can, what if Herman would have gotten a knockout right after that? Ref makes a terrible call, the wrong one against the rules, and then somebody gets a knockout. I mean, that's the ref's fault. So it's like you can't make these stupid mistakes. And that's actually, I mean, if the commentators are seeing it, and the audience too is seeing it, like that just doesn't seem right that they're stood back up. I mean, you got something wrong. Like you need to fix that. Fix that immediately. Actually, I would have even said after the first round, I would say the head umpire should have said to the ref, that's not right. They should have been on the ground again, because then again, we saw we saw the exact same mistake being made a second time. And I mean, fair play, you make one mistake one time. It's like, okay, you shouldn't have made the mistake in the first place, but you make the same mistake, a second mistake in the same fight. That's, that's not okay. Like, we got to fix that. So yeah, I don't know. They really need to fix this shit. It's honestly getting kind of insane. Actually, it's not just kind of insane. It's just straight up insanity all the time. Anyway, enough about all that. Another early knockdown from Cummings in the third. Got up. Another huge shot from Cummings that rocked Herman again. I mean, really, it was just over and over. He was getting knocked down, Herman. Another knockdown right after that, as I say that. Herman really walking him down now, though. Had to get a finish. Herman got busted up again at the end of the round there. Not really able to do anything. And then finally, after a couple rounds of trying, Cummings blitzed Herman, dropped him one final time, grabbed the finish, and that was it. And I will say, I even wrote before they even retired. So before the fight was even over, I even wrote down, I was like, I hope they both retire. Because honestly, I mean, like, one's like 44 and one's like 42 or something like that. It's like, No, like, unless you're fighting somebody else that's exactly in your same position, which they were, great matchmaking on the UFC's part. Unless you're in that kind of scenario, you're not gonna win. I mean, like, I'm sorry, it's just as simple as that. Like, you bring in somebody new, even somebody that's, like, 30, they're gonna absolutely smoke both of those guys, so it's kinda like it just doesn't make sense for them to be around anymore. Plus, not only that, it was an incredible fight. So right away, I was like, this is the perfect way for both of these guys to go out. So I kind of hope they both stop after this. And funny enough, that is exactly what we saw. Thankfully, I'm so happy. You never, I mean, especially recently, you do not see retirements like that in the UFC where it's like, oh, thank God. Like, oh, you know, we saw them retire. They both got a good performance. I mean, like, listen, okay, Herman was just absolutely destroyed quite a few times, but it was an entertaining fight. And I even thought that Herman actually, that was a good way for him to go out. Yes, he got ripped apart on multiple occasions, but it was an entertaining fight. He still had his moments. It was against another guy that's just like him. That's a perfect time for Herman to leave. And of course, for Cummings. I mean, he's from Kansas City, had an amazing win, also should leave. So, like I said, both of them should have retired. And I'm so glad that they did retire after that because, yeah, that was just the perfect time for both of them to retire. And it was a great moment. It was just great all around. And that actually ended up being my fight of the night. Um, I mean, I could see the perspective where it was like, okay, maybe it's too one-sided to be fight of the night. But I mean, Herman had his moments. He did have a knockdown himself. It was exciting to watch. I don't know. And the other fight that did end up winning it, I believe was well, who did it? I think it was Algio and Brown. But to me, it ended too early. It was too quick of a fight for for it to win Brawl of the Night in my bonus. So I ended up giving the bonus to those two. And, one bonus on the way out. You're welcome. Then we had the first prelim that I had talked about last time. I was very excited about this, as most people were that know about MMA. Brandon Royval, Mateusz Nicolau. I gotta say, I was shocked. I was actually very, very surprised by the result in this one. I mean, Nicolau waiting it out a little bit. That is his style. He is more patient most of the time. Royval walking in, trying to blitz him. Nicolau just avoiding all of the shots that Royval was throwing in there. But then out of absolutely nowhere, like seriously, it was kind of like, okay, like I see what's going to be happening here. The first round is just going to be slow. Nicolau's taking his time. He's probably going to start landing a couple ones as the round goes on, maybe going for a takedown. He gets the round, that's what I thought was going to happen. But yeah, out of absolutely nowhere, got just absolutely flattened out. And then Royval swarmed in, and that was it. Landed that huge knee to the chin of Nicolau, and holy shit. Unbelievable. I really did not see that coming at all. I'm still surprised actually that it happened. I really am. Because Nicolau just seemed like he's that next level. Like he was just going to come in there, get a fairly convincing win, and then probably get the next title shot, to be honest. That's kind of what I was thinking. Or at least, a number one contender fight against somebody and then eventually get a title shot after probably winning that too. That's really how I thought this was going to go. Yeah, I was shocked. I really was shocked. But listen, I mean, clearly Royval he really is the real deal. And I mean, clearly he just had a couple of really, really bad fights and unlucky ones in the last couple ones. I mean, Pantoja just steamrolled him, but that's different. I mean, I think it was Pantoja that did that to him. And I mean, the Moreno one was a little bit unlucky. That was where his shoulder popped out, lost because of that. I mean, I was kind of unlucky more than anything. I don't think Moreno did anything that was like holy shit. It was more like, oh, that's unfortunate. So maybe he's just better than I thought. I don't know. But amazing performance, really. And that was actually going to be the KO of the night for sure. I had it locked in. But yeah, the knockout later, Barboza, that just stole it. I'm sorry. Sorry, buddy. Sorry, Royval, but yeah, Barboza got that knockout for sure. And then I forgot to put my notes back on the laptop as always. What an idiot. What an absolute idiot I am. So we will have to go and look on my phone for the notes. This was Bill Algeo, TJ Brown, featured prelim. Again, talked about it last time. I figured Bill Algeo was going to win. I figured they were both pretty tough though, so I think I said it was going to be a decision, but I mean, knew it was going to be a good fight, and I was definitely leaning towards Algeo as I mentioned last time. Um, as expected, both guys just letting loose right away. Again, I said this was going to be a good fight. It's the reason why I featured it in the first place. I was talking about it. Brown landing well, walking Algeo down. Algeo standing his ground, countering him pretty well. Algeo then landed pretty big, pushed Brown to the canvas. Brown was then recovering a bit with the grappling, but they moved back to their feet. Algeo landing well again. Damage seemed to be slightly in favor of Brown, though, because he was doing some damage. I mean, the damage was starting to show. Then the last minute of the round, though, Brown, I thought, kind of stole it with some extra lands and a bit more damage. I will say it was very, very close, though. So really could have gone either way. But I had the first round for Brown. Second round, Brown kept going with his wild pace. He was kind of just overwhelming Algeo at that point. But then, out of nowhere, again, Algeo stole that momentum, dropped him down with an elbow, ended up taking his back from there, locked in the choke, and that was it. It was a wild fight as expected. Incredible submission win for Algeo, and would have been the fight of the night it would have been my brawl of the night, but like I said, wasn't really quite long enough for me to think, wow, that was something. Whereas the two older guys, I don't know. I just when you I don't again, and I don't normally like those kind of fights. I really don't, but it really was a good fight to watch. It was pretty entertaining to watch. I liked it. I don't know. And that's really all that matters. But yeah, so a great win for Bill Algeo. That really was a great win for Bill Algeo. Looked amazing. He definitely is somebody to watch out for. He really, really is. Um, then we had the main card: Rafa Garcia, Clay Guida. I mean, I was pretty confident about this one. I put it in almost all my parlays. Garcia by decision. That is exactly what I had, and that is exactly what what we saw. I mean, neither one of them gets finished. Neither one of them really gets finishes. So his decision seemed obvious, and it seemed pretty obvious that Garcia was gonna win that. So yeah, and that is exactly what we saw. Guida moving as much as ever. I mean, he's still the same lunatic, and I love it. You gotta love it. How do you not love Guida? I was gonna say Garcia. How do you not love Clay Guida? Landing some good shots. Garcia trying to get something going. I mean, obviously, Guida's always going to be that guy. He's always going to be somebody that is kind of tough to deal with because he moves so much and his pace is always pretty ridiculous. As the round went on, though, Garcia started to get into it, dodging well, landing well. Guida, no idea what that says. Autocorrect fucking me up again. Last couple of minutes, though, he was starting to outpace Garcia, but Garcia was still the one landing cleaner. So because of those clean shots, the damage, I was going with Garcia, but Guida did have the higher pace in the first round for sure. Second round, Guida, again, walking forward as always. I mean, that's never going to change. Walked into some nasty combos, though. Got a bit rocked. Briefly threatened to take down, but was shut down. Started to get picked apart at a distance. Garcia wasn't really landing anything massive at that point. He was kind of just picking him apart with smaller shots throughout the entire round. And again, won the second round fairly convincingly. So it seemed like a pretty clear, uh, 2 rounds to nothing at that point for Garcia. Where are we here? Third round, Guida not as aggressive this time, starting to slow down, still getting picked apart. Did go for another takedown, still didn't really get it, not really getting a whole lot of anything going. I mean, it's tough. He really did still look good. He was always moving well and trying, but he never really looked in control. And I think that's, I hate to say it because I did pick him in a couple of the other fights recently. I think that's going to be kind of what we see from Guida from now on. Obviously he's just going to struggle with, especially some the younger people. A lot of people were saying though, book UFC 300, Clay Guida, Jim Miller. Honestly, I actually think that is the perfect last fight for both of them. I really, really think. I mean, can you think of a better way to go out for either one of those guys? I mean, it's a great matchup for Jim Miller. He wants to stay until UFC 300. I mean, that's his goal. That's been his goal for the last few years. Just get to UFC 300. And for Guida, he wants to keep fighting too. He wants to keep going. So why not also make UFC 300 that last fight? I think it really does make a lot of sense. But in the meantime, I don't really know. I mean, you're going to have to keep going with, the guys that are also kind of on their way out, or you kind of got to give him, a certain style of fighter for sure, because somebody like this, I don't know. I just don't really know who's left on the roster that he can get a win over. I don't know. I mean, it was competitive. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's not like he got completely blown out. It was just like, he's not really getting anything going. Like, it never really seemed like it was like, oh, okay, now Guida's winning the round. Now he's winning the round. Now Guida's winning the round again. Like, it was never really like that. It was like, okay, Garcia's winning for 15 minutes straight. It was like, okay, he's winning. But he's not getting finished. So, I don't know. Tough to say. Tough to say what to do with somebody like that. All I know is a great send-off for both of them, Jim Miller and Clay Guida, UFC 300. I think that's perfect. You got to do it. I think you really got to do that. Then we saw Gutierrez and Pedro Munoz. I got to say, this was another one that I was pretty surprised by. Yeah, I had Gutierrez by decision. I mean, Munoz never been finished, so I kind of figured that's the way. It just makes a lot of sense. Gutierrez decision. Both of the guys pretty cautious early. Gutierrez landing all of his leg kicks as always. And then it exploded as Munoz dropped him with a huge, huge hook. And Munoz was in complete control from there. Really ground and pound. He used his grappling to just keep Gutierrez on the ground. And then just controlled him along the fence. I mean, there was absolutely no doubt that Munoz won that opening round. Was not even close. And I was scared right away as soon as I saw that. As soon as that first round ended, I was like, oh, yeah, we're losing. We're losing this one. We're losing big because I put Gutierrez in a lot of the parlays that I had. And yeah, that did not pan out at all. I was immediately worried as soon as he got knocked down. Actually, I was like, "Oh shit!" Because yeah, I thought Gutierrez was going to control him the whole time on the feet. I really, really did. I didn't even think it was going to. I mean, I thought it was going to be kind of close, but again, I thought Gutierrez was going to control this whole fight with his striking. And as soon as he got dropped like that, I was like, "Oh, we're fucked. We're screwed here now. There's no way we're coming back from this." Gutierrez, second round, I mean, came back with his kicks, really having a hard time with Munoz constantly walking forward. You crowd the kicker. That's what they always say. You got to crowd the kicker. and that's exactly what Munoz did. Landed combos of his own, and he was just struggling with the pace. Munoz not slowing down, lots and lots of pace. Gutierrez moving back. I mean, he really couldn't get any of his offense going because he was just constantly on defense. It was a little bit closer this round. I did have to say though, I still had Munoz. I had him up 2 rounds at that point. Third round, Munoz came in like a bullet, pressured forward even harder than before, really pushing Gutierrez back, not giving him any room to work whatsoever. Um, Tough to really describe what was happening at that point in the fight. It was weird. It was one of those weird ones where it was like, there is stuff going on, but it's almost like I don't want to say it was boring, but it was kind of like it was hard to focus on because it was like nothing huge was happening. So it's kind of like, oh, there's a fight going on. It's weird. It was one of those weird fights, and the crowd was booing. I mean, which is bizarre because it's like nothing. It wasn't like I said, it wasn't really boring. It was kind of just like, I don't know. It was just like, oh yeah, there's a fight going on. Okay. That's just what it seemed like. And like I said, I thought it was just me, but then the crowd started to boo, and I was like, oh shit, they're booing these guys, and it's not even a bad fight. I mean, yeah, it was weird. That was a weird one. I that doesn't happen very often where you get a fight like that where things are happening, but and it's not like he was just clinching along the fence. It's not like he was on the ground just holding him there. It was a close round and they were striking back and forth, but it was just like painful to watch almost. It was like, oh, not painful to watch. It was like I was struggling to focus on the fight. It was just weird. It was so weird. And again, I thought it was just me. I thought it was just me, but then the crowd started to boo and they were getting very loud. Like they were booing a lot. Yeah, it was just a bizarre scene. And no idea who won that round. Like I said, it was weird. Probably Munoz. Um and I think actually, even with the crowd booing, made it even more disorienting. That's actually what I wrote here. Weird fight to watch with that kind of crowd. Super disorienting. That's what I wrote down here in my notes. And yeah, I even just remember I was like, I don't even know. This is so weird to watch because I feel like I should be enjoying this fight and this round, but they're getting booed. So it's like this weird, what they say, cognitive dissonance. It was like I should be thinking this one thing, but I'm not thinking it. And now I don't know what to think. It's like, I don't know what I'm watching anymore. It was just so bizarre. It's such a rare, it never really happens. It's really, really weird. But yeah, seemed like Munoz 30-27, maybe 29-28. And then, yeah, 30-27 on all cards for Munoz. Can't argue with that. But I was just shocked. I really was. I thought Gutierrez was way better than that. I mean, he looked really, really good in his other fights. And I mean, we'll forget about, I think he was the one that beat Frankie Edgar. And we'll forget about that fight because, listen, that was not going to be close. That was just not going to be close. But even before that, all of his fights, he was super active. The kicks were incredible. I mean, he was really, really good in his other fights and just did not get that going at all. So Munoz, his strategy clearly was very, very effective. I mean, walking forward constantly. I mean, it really was like, oh, wow. Okay. Like Munoz is definitely still there for sure. He's not fallen out of this top 15 yet. That's for sure. Man, there's still it is a long card. It really was. Wow. Then we had Tanner Bozer and Iwan Kutelaba. I wasn't sure who was going to get the finish, but I did know this one's going to end early, and I was very right about that. Um, Too early though. Too early though, I gotta say. A little more cautious than expected from both guys early. Because normally both of these guys let it loose pretty early. So I was a little surprised. I guess maybe they're both getting slightly smarter. I'm not sure. Iwan did land the first big shot. Bozer dropped into the fence. Kutelaba swarmed him from there, and really that was it. The ref called it. I do have to say though, it was a very early stoppage, and I don't really know how you can argue that that wasn't an early stoppage. He was literally on his way back up to his feet. Like actually he was standing up. You could literally see him standing up to go do whatever, I don't know, to strike again, I guess. But you could see him standing back up, and the ref stopped it. And then he was just like, "What?" Like, what the fuck? And yeah, I would be pissed too. That was definitely one of the earliest stoppages of the year so far. Haven't seen it too much this year so far. Maybe like, I want to say maybe like 3 or 4, maybe 5 that were early. This one was, it might have been the earliest one I've seen yet this year, because that was ridiculous. I mean, he really was already almost back to his feet, and he just stopped the fight. I mean, and he didn't look out of it. He was still defending. He was still standing up. Again, I don't really understand why you would have stopped it there. Garbage stoppage, but whatever. And that really is just the theme of Tanner Bozer's career. I hate to say it, because again, cool dude, super cool dude, obviously Canadian as well. But I mean, he was robbed in a couple of the split decisions, and then he gets this shit deal on the way out. I mean, what the fuck? Yeah, just gotta be one of the unluckiest fighters I've ever seen. I think there's Zhalgas Zhumagulov might be the unluckiest one, but there are a few guys on the roster that seems like every time they do something, they just get completely fucked. And this was another time for Tanner Bozer just getting the worst luck. The worst luck. I mean, wow. Fuck. And like I said, he really didn't even look that bad. It was like, okay, yeah, he got hit. He, dropped. Okay, fine. But again, he was on his way back up, ready to fight back. So it was like, fuck, you know? Shit like that should not happen. Fix the judges, fix the refs. Anyway, so that was a weird one. That was a bad one, really. Then after that, Jacoby Murzakanov. I knew this was going to be close, and it's why I didn't put either one of them in a parlay. And that's why, I mean, Jacoby was a significant favorite in this one too, and I was like, I don't think so. Like, this is too close. This is too close. And that is, again, that's kind of what we saw. It was kind of close, but yeah. Both guys cautious. Jacoby using his length at a distance. Murzakanov using his speed to get in there and land some hard ones. That's just what he's good at. He really is good at it. Even though I don't really think Murzakanov's that good, I still don't think he's that good. Even after watching this, I still really don't think he's good. But he's just one of those guys, it seems like, that's just tough to fight. It's tough to fight against this guy. That's really all it is. I don't know. He's just one of those guys. There are a couple of people like that. Azamat, oh yeah. Then Murzakanov grabbed the first big moment of the fight, dropped Jacoby on his back, landed a couple of huge combos, and that, I mean, it was the only thing that happened in the round. So it was an obvious round for Azamat in the first. Second round, Azamat kept that momentum going, not pushing too hard, but just kind of landing enough to keep Jacoby back, stumbling him occasionally. And this really was actually kind of another weird fight to score. It was kind of like, I don't really know how to be scoring. It was just, there wasn't, I don't know, there wasn't really a whole lot going on. Like, there wasn't a whole lot of power being thrown around. So it's kind of like, you kind of have to count who's striking more. It was just like, you hate fights like that because they're so hard to score when they're that close. And Azamat seemed to be slowing down, so it's kind of like, okay, maybe Jacoby's going to kind of come back into this round. And then rocked Jacoby again, dropped him to his knees, stumbled back into the cage a couple of times, and definitely won the round again. I mean, That's just how Azamat does it. It is so weird to watch because he's clearly actually, you know what? It seems like he's very much like Chito Vera. That's what I'm realizing now. I literally just thought of that. He really is like Chito Vera because Vera does the exact same thing. He's not good. Like he's not going to be outpacing you at any point. It's just he's going to land a couple of hard shots and that's just going to sway the judges. And that's exactly what happened. Because now 2 rounds in a row, he did it again, which he did in his other fights too. He did it again here, landed a couple of good shots, and that was it. He won both of those rounds. Third round, so he's 2 rounds up. Third round, Jacoby needed a finish, walked forward a lot more, landed a great one, stumbled Azamat back, and the crowd started to erupt. I mean, they were exploding at this point as Jacoby was starting to come back. He was starting to land some combos, and then just idiotic strategy. No fucking clue why he did this. Jacoby started to clinch along the fence. What the fuck are you doing along the fence when you need to finish? You're not a submission artist. That's for damn sure. You're a glory kickboxer. What the fuck are you doing along the fence in a clinch going for takedowns? What are you doing? So that was stupid. You did get a takedown from there with a minute left. I mean, congrats. You won the run. You won the round, obviously. Too late, obviously, at that point. So yeah, it was a pretty obvious 29-28 loss because of that. I mean, was he going to get a knockout in the last couple of minutes? No, probably not. But you're definitely not going to get anything going on the ground. So I don't know, just bizarre. So yeah, Murzakanov with another win. I will say though, I don't know who he's going to be fighting next, but I cannot imagine that I will be picking him. I would be shocked if he ends up in a matchup where I'm thinking, yeah, he could win this. I just don't think he's good. And it's the same thing with Vera. I don't think that his strategy is not sustainable, and we saw that. We saw that against who did Chito just lose to? Fuck, I can't remember who he just lost to, but I even said it there too. I was like, he's gonna lose this. He can't. He's not gonna get a knockout. Oh, Sandhagen, yeah. Yeah, he's not gonna win this. I mean, he's just gonna get outpaced by Sandhagen, and Sandhagen's really well rounded, so he's gonna win. It was pretty obvious. And then this one is the same thing. It's like Murzakanov does not have the output or the skill to win these fights. He's literally landing 1 or 2 punches in each round and winning. Like, that is not a sustainable strategy. So I won't be picking him, I'm pretty sure, in the next one. I'd be pretty shocked. Unless he's fighting somebody that gets knocked out all the time. then I'd pick him. But no. Otherwise, no, I'm not picking him. Co-main, we're still going. Fuck, it's an hour deep. Fuck me. Barboza decision. That's how I was going with it against Billy Q. Billy Q, extremely durable. So I figured, okay. And especially since Barboza in a lot of decisions recently. So I figured, okay, makes sense. Probably seeing Barboza decision. That is not what we saw, though. What we saw was another highlight reel for Barboza. Billy Q ran in looking for a takedown right away. Obviously, you don't want to be on the feet with Barboza that much. Not a guy that you want to fuck around with on the feet. Didn't get it, though. Got his legs just annihilated by Barboza's kicks. I mean, the kicks on Barboza, it's incredible. I love Barboza. He's so entertaining. Man, I really am gonna miss him when he's gone. I hope he's gonna be around for a little bit longer, at least a few more years for sure. I really hope. And I hope he's not one of those guys that's gonna get blown out by some young guy in his retirement fight. I'm gonna be so sad if that's exactly what happens. I wouldn't be surprised, but I would be very sad if Barboza gets just destroyed in his retirement fight. I hate when that shit happens. And it would be worse with Barboza. Anyway, then out of nowhere, Billy Q was out on the canvas. I mean, seriously, it was like literally like, okay, he's fighting, bam, he's out. And that was it. Barboza landed the knee, Classic Barboza getting that highlight reel knockout and really the much needed win. Because if he lost this, I don't really know how you come back from that. I truly don't, because Billy Q is not really, he's not really on the radar for, I mean, he's kind of on the radar for top 15, but is he on the radar like, top 5? Are we saying, "Oh, Billy Q title shot coming up"? No. Nobody's saying that. Well, I mean, nobody with half a brain is saying that. So, you know, a loss like that for Barboza after losing to Giga and Mitchell, and I think, did he lose to Ige as well? I can't remember. I mean, he's had a rough stretch, so needed that win, and man, did he get it! What an incredible way to win! Again, another highlight reel finish for Barboza, flying knee, and of course, that was the KO of the night. And I'll tell you why too. It's because it was against Billy Q. Because this guy he is the real deal. Don't get this result wrong. Don't let this result fool you. He's still the real deal. He's definitely still good. But um, yeah. And compared to the other flying knee, which was, I think I don't want to say that one was a little more lucky, but it was more like, okay, he got a TKO out of it. Whereas this was like, oh shit. God damn. Yeah, I don't know. This one just seemed more impressive. They were both knees. This one just seemed more impressive. I don't know. Anyway, then we had the main event. Holloway, Allen. Yeah, I mean, no real surprises here. I had Holloway decision. I don't really know where people were kind of getting the idea that Allen was going to win in certain ways. I mean, like, could I have seen him win? Yeah. I really thought it would have been the grappling, obviously, and he didn't really even use it, which seemed bizarre. I thought that was kind of a weird way to fight Max Holloway, because he was literally just kickboxing with him. It seemed like a bizarre strategy to fight who we all know is the second best striker. I mean, the best striker obviously is Volkanovski. Second best has to be Holloway. So why would you fight him like that? That was really the only thing I was worried about, because we know how big Allen is. So if Allen used that size to then clinch, grapple Holloway, yeah, like a win is reasonable. That's the only reason why I was a little bit worried, but I still figured Holloway was going to be able to win, especially over 5 rounds. I mean, he's not going to finish Max Holloway. So I figured, we were going to see probably 3 rounds to 2, maybe 4 rounds to 1. And I'm pretty sure that's exactly what I said last time. Yeah. I don't know. I thought he would have been a bigger favorite for sure. Anyway, getting into the actual fight, both guys feeling each other out early, then the speed and striking of Holloway very much on display as he started to land his combos. And Allen was just really struggling with the speed, with the movement, not really landing a whole lot of anything. Max just looking like Max in the first. Super clean, super crisp, easy round. Allen never really landed anything. And that's what I mean when I say it's a weird way to fight Max Holloway. It's just a bizarre strategy to, when he is the second best striker in the division. Like, why are you striking with him? It didn't make a whole lot of sense in terms of strategy when Allen does have that in his back pocket. Second round, Allen came in a lot harder this time, landing some heavy shots and stumbling Holloway back a bit. Allen definitely pressuring forward, landing hard, while Max was mostly countering. As the round went on, though, Allen did start to slow down, not really throwing much out, and that really let Holloway get going again. And the majority of the rest of the round was all Holloway. So, I mean, I thought he pretty clearly won the second round. I mean, it was close, but he won the last, half of the round, and kind of just, like I said, ran away with it. Allen didn't really do a whole lot after that in the second round. So seemed like a pretty clear second round because of that. I don't know. I saw some scorecards going the other way. I don't know. It seemed pretty clear that it was 2-0. I don't know. Third round, Holloway seemed to start coming alive a bit more this round, walking down Allen a little bit, completely back and forth for most of the round. And it was really just activity that kind of determined that round. Holloway edging ahead in activity. So, and he was actually starting to bust open the face of Allen. So, seemed to start running away with it. I had him up 3-0 at that point. I mean, I don't know. The second round, I could have seen like maybe giving it to Allen, but again, it's like Holloway won the last half of the round. Allen didn't really do crazy damage. I don't know. So to me, it seemed like it was a pretty obvious 3-0 at that point. Fourth round, Allen still looked good, moving well. Definitely solid performance against Max, but definitely struggling with the pace and grappling skill of Holloway. Probably should start grappling. I wrote that right there. I was like, you should really start grappling. And should have started earlier. I mean, I even said it earlier too. It's like, it's a weird strategy to fight Max Holloway like that. It's just not, it's just a bad game plan. I don't know why they would have thought that that was a good idea. I don't really know. It just seems like a weird way to go with it. I don't really know what they were thinking. Um, Allen had a brief moment with Holloway stumbling into the fence awkwardly and Allen landing a kick, but it was kind of unclear whether he actually just tripped or not. Holloway still looking good, but I thought that was Allen's best round up to that point, the fourth round. Unclear. I gave it to Holloway still in the fourth round, but I really could have seen for sure in the fourth round that definitely could have gone to Allen. I was just on the fence on that one. That's a classic 10-10 for me. Could have gone either way. But, you know, by that logic, yeah, Allen could have won that round for sure. Fifth round, Allen really looking for a finish now, walking Holloway down, landing some pretty heavy shots. Once again, though, a minute in, and Allen had slowed down already to almost nothing. And that's what he did most of the rounds, really. Great start, then tapered off, allowing Holloway to land more and get it back. Halfway in, and Allen had another blitz, another good combo landed, but he couldn't keep it going. I mean, he would have these blitzes and then he would slow down again. You can't keep the momentum going if you're then stopping and letting the highest pace striker in UFC history start striking with you. I mean, that's a no-brainer. You can't let him do that. That's the whole point, which is why I'm saying you can't fight Max Holloway like that. You can't strike with him because if you're going, or you're just going to be Volkanovski and you're just going to be dodging a lot of it and then countering well. That's how he beat him, like that. Um, and picking him apart at the right moments. But you can't outpace. You're not going to outpace Max Holloway. That is not happening. I mean, there's a reason why he has got the striking record by over 1,000 strikes. We just saw he got 3,000 strikes landed in the UFC. You're not going to outpace him. That's ridiculous. So it just seemed like a bad strategy from the beginning. I don't really know why they would have gone in with that game plan to me. Again, I'm not a coach. I'm not a fighter, but it just seems like that would be the worst possible strategy to fight somebody like Max Holloway. But anyway, it was still a close fight though. I mean, you can't argue with that. Anyway, fifth round. What am I talking about here? Allen then swept out the legs of Holloway, making the round pretty interesting, I gotta say, but with a beautiful, quick, slick knockdown to close the fight. Holloway may have grabbed it again. And I will say they didn't actually count that as a knockdown, which to me is ridiculous. I mean, the fight's still going on and he got a knockdown. Like he was knocked down. Like what? How does that not count? Like it's within the 5 minutes. He was knocked down on the ground. That's a fucking knockdown. But anyway, I think it did end up influencing the judges a little bit. So with that, 49-46, that's how I had it. But I did say, a couple of the rounds were close, especially the fourth one and the fifth one. So, I could have seen it going 48-47, but I had a 49-46 especially because of that knockdown, which was a knockdown. They might not have counted it, but that was a knockdown. Yeah. So I don't know. It's tough. It was a weird one to score, I will say. But could I have seen it going the other way? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I would have been pretty shocked and pretty pissed off if Arnold Allen walked away with a win out of that. Even a split decision, I would have been like, what the fuck? What the actual fuck? But thankfully, they made the right choice. 49-46. Holloway looking like Holloway. And again, that's not even to say anything bad about Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen is still number 3, maybe number 4 if we're talking about Yair, because Yair might be better than him. I don't know, but it's really close. I mean, these featherweights are so good in the top 5, but I mean, there's still an obvious number 1 and 2, though. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. So bonuses: KO of the night, Edson Barboza; sub of the night, Bill Algeo; brawl of the night, Ed Herman, Zach Cummings; and most valuable fighter, I gave to Pedro Munoz because, I mean, he was on such a bad losing streak. Really looked like he was going to be on his way out of the UFC after like this loss and maybe one more they were going to give him. So, I mean, for him to look like he did and get the win like that, I mean, yeah, most valuable fighter. That is really, really hard to do. So yeah, I was impressed. I was very impressed by Pedro Munoz on that one. And that's it. That is it. That was a really long. We talked a lot in between the fights, though, to be fair. But yeah, that is it. We will take a quick break, and then we will talk about UFC Vegas 72. I had to think about that for a second. We'll be right back after this.
Allow me to introduce High Stick Vodka, a new way to celebrate victory. Gather around the glass with an award-winning, ultra-premium Canadian-made vodka. You probably won't listen when I say High Stick Vodka has a smooth, hard-hitting taste, or that it's developed in the birthplace of hockey. You won't listen when I say High Stick Vodka is a tribute to the game of hockey, or when I tell you it's distilled 4 times using Canada's purest mountain spring water to provide an authentic, remarkable flavor. But maybe you will listen when I say it comes in a f***ing hockey stick. Showcase your passion for hockey with our limited edition hand-blown hockey stick bottle. Whether you're celebrating victory or drinking to defeat, High Stick Vodka is better after every shot. Visit us at highstickvodka.com. It also comes in this regular bottle. Celebrate victory. Drink responsibly.
And we're back. UFC Vegas 72, Pavlovich, Blades. Let's get right into it. And this one won't take too long because there's not really a whole lot of fights that I was going to talk about. There's only one prelim this time that I'm going to talk about as opposed to the normal 2. Plus the picks, honestly, I feel like a lot of them are pretty clear. I don't know. The first one I will say is probably that's the closest one to me where it really could go either way. It's Jeremiah Wells, Matt Semmelsberger. It's close. They're both well-rounded. They've both got power in their hands, but to me, really comes down to how they've been performing recently and how they've looked in their fights. So this one came really mostly down to what I saw in the tape. And that to me is Wells. I have to go with Wells because he hasn't really actually had too many problems. He hasn't really faced much adversity at all in the UFC. He's just kind of been running away with it most of the time. He's gotten a lot of finishes. I don't know if he's going to get the finish or not here. I don't think so, but he's so big. And Semmelsberger struggles with the grappling when it's a bigger guy. So, I mean, with the grappling of Wells alone, I think he should be able to win a decision. But not only that, Wells has some real power too. I mean, Semmelsberger has some power too, but I think the strategy from Wells going into this is pretty clearly going to be grappling heavy, and I don't really know if Semmelsberger can keep up with that, especially with somebody as big and strong and skilled really as Wells. So for me, I got to go Wells, and I will be going for the decision. I will be going for the decision because they don't really lose. I mean, like they don't really lose much in the first place, and I don't know if either one of them have really been I think they have been finished, but it definitely wasn't anytime recent. I can't remember though off the top of my head, but I remember that being the factor for me was that especially since Wells should be grappling in this, which means there's probably not going to be a finish involved. It's just going to be a lot of clinching, a lot of holding on the ground, a lot of, outmaneuvering from Wells here and there. That's what I think is going to happen. So yeah, I'm going Wells minus 110 right now. It is almost dead even. Minus 110 for Wells, minus 112 for Semmelsberger. Like I said, Wells just seems to be that next level. He's just a slight titch above Semmelsberger in this matchup. So I'm going Wells, and I'm going the over. Um, it is set at 1.5 rounds. I don't think there's going to be a finish before that. I mean, there might be. Listen, I mean, Wells has a lot of first round finishes. Semmelsberger has some early finishes. So we could see that, but they don't really get finished. So that's really the flip side of it is yes, they get a lot of finishes, but neither one of them really gets finished a whole lot. So usually that means a longer fight. So for it being set at 1.5, I mean, for sure, no brainer, go above. Minus 184 over 1.5. I'm definitely locking that one in. It's clearly the much better choice here. So that's the first one. Yasmin Lucindo, Brogan Walker. How that somehow made it on the main card, I have no fucking idea. But here we are on the main card with Yasmin Lucindo and Brogan Walker, of all people, who lost. Like, she lost her tough fight against Juliana Miller. Why you would put her on a main card, I have no idea. And why you would pick her, I have no idea either. But no, I actually will rein that back. I will say I actually think this is a lot closer than people realize. Not because I think Walker's good. I really actually don't think she's that good. Sorry. Um, I'm not trying to be offensive, but I just really don't. I just didn't see anything that great throughout the show or in the Juliana Miller fight. Um, so it's the one thing that she has in this fight, and it really is a huge, huge deal, is her size. She is big. She is a big, she's a decent sized 125er, and Lucindo just fought at 115. And she really does seem like she really belongs at 115. To be honest, actually, I actually thought she might even be able to fight at 105. I'm not even joking. She had, I mean, I'm not saying she looked fat at 115, but there was a little bit. She didn't look drawn out at all. So it was like, I think there actually is a little bit of room that you could actually fight at atom weight in some promotions. So that size difference, that really is a big deal. I mean, if all Walker has to do is get forward, get in the clinch, and not even get a takedown, but even get a clinch and just weigh on her. Just weigh on her along the fence, get a takedown, just smother her, use your weight. If she can do that, I actually do think she can win this fight, which is why I'm not putting this in a parlay. There's no way. I've learned my lesson on that before, where the size difference, it's that size difference. Brogan Walker really does have a real chance at this. If it was against literally anybody else at 125, I would be going with whoever else that was. But because she's fighting somebody who's a true 115-pound fighter, a strawweight, like a true strawweight, it's a little bit iffy. I'm a little bit worried about it. I really am. That being said, I'm still not picking Walker. I still think Lucindo can win with her striking because Walker's striking just isn't all that great. But man, I really am a little bit worried about the pick, which is why I will be going to a decision for sure. Just because of that weight again. Like if Walker was a 115, was a true straw weight this whole time, I wouldn't be saying this, but I don't know. I'm a little worried about it. Do you think Jones will? I got a question here. What do we got here? Do you think Jones will really stay active enough for the heavyweight division? Because this is for the next title shot. But they will have a long time to wait. That is a very good question from R&R. I mean, he did tease that he's going to be retiring after his next fight, which is against Stipe, of course. I'm not sure if I really fully believe him. I mean, he has trolled stuff like that before. I don't really believe him. Will he stay active enough? Man, that's I think what he's probably going to be doing is he's going to fight Stipe, probably beat Stipe, and then take one more. I honestly think that's what's going to happen. I don't think we see John Jones for too much more. I don't know. I have a bad feeling about it. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. And we see John Jones get 5, 6, 8 more fights, but I don't know. I don't know. He's not really being active. And that right there, the fact that it was moved from International Fight Week to then in possibly New York, which is, I don't even know when that is, October, sometime in the fall. It's definitely a worry for sure. So I don't know. You're probably going to be seeing another interim one. Yeah, depends on how the money looks, says R&R. Yeah, I honestly don't think he cares. I honestly don't think he really cares about the money, to be honest. I mean, to a certain extent. I mean, yeah, of course he was complaining about the money before, but I think that was a lot of trash talk to kind of, use his time to get a little bit bigger to make the heavyweight properly. So I don't know if that was all talk before about the money. I don't think the money matters to him as much anymore. I don't know. It's tough. I mean, people like that, they're hard to read. It's hard to know what they want to do. I don't know. But um yeah, I think we might be seeing I hate to say another interim title. Fuck. We've seen so many interim belts recently, especially in the heavyweight division. Man, I don't know. That's a tough question. That really is a tough one. Who do you think's going to win between Blades and Pavlovich? I will be coming up with that soon after this one, but I'm very interested to hear what you have to say about that. As I was saying though, Lucindo, Walker, I'm still going Lucindo, even though Walker has a chance because of her size. I'm still going Lucindo, minus 325. Not putting that in a parlay, not confident enough. Over under, I'm going over, minus 260. I don't think Lucindo has the power to get a finish at 125 against Walker. I definitely don't think Walker is going to get a finish. So I'm going over. I'm going over, minus 260. Bobby Green, Jared Gordon. That's what's after that. I don't think this is even close. Bobby Green all day, minus 260. I mean, the striking obviously is where it comes in. I mean, we saw Gordon get hit by Patty quite a few times, and I think we all kind of know Patty, maybe not the best striker. So if Patty's hitting him, Green is going to do some real damage here. And personally, I think he's going to be getting the finish. I'm calling a Green finish on this one. I really do. Minus 260. I'm putting this in a parlay. I mean, the grappling of Gordon. Ooh, good question from R&R. We'll put that up here as well. Is Bobby coming in too quickly after that KO? If it was somebody else, if it was somebody that was in the top 15 that, that had that power, like if he was fighting somebody like Drew Dober again, yes, I would agree with you. That's probably not a good idea. But against Gordon, I don't think so. I really don't. He's so fast. that's really the part of it too, is it's not even all the power of it. He's so fast and so skilled. I don't really see how Gordon wins it on the feet. I mean, he could get some grappling going. You know, Gordon could get some grappling going, maybe get a decision somehow, but I really don't think so. I think Bobby Green's just going to kind of run away with this on the feet. He might not get the finish, though. Could be just a long decision of Bobby Green landing the whole fight. Tough to say. Tough to say at that point, but I'm still going Bobby Green all day. Minus 260, throwing that in the parlays for sure. Over under, I mean, plus 200 for under 2.5. That's a juicy betting line. I got to go with that. I mean, the striking mismatch alone. Yeah, I get that Gordon doesn't really get finished, but it's Bobby Green. He's got a lot of knock. I mean, I don't know. The striking difference. Plus 200, it's juicy. I got to go for it. I got to go for it. Co-main, Brad Tavares, Bruno Silva. I got to say, this one was a little tough because I was really big on Bruno Silva a while ago, but yeah, after he lost to Mearshart, yeah, I think that went out the window for me. After you lose to Mearshart like that, I'm probably never picking you again, especially against somebody who's been in the top 15 this long. Tavares hasn't really looked good either. That's why I've been kind of close on it. But I got to go with Tavares. I mean, yeah, just from what I saw from Silva, just didn't look good. And I mean, Tavares had a couple of moments against Dricus where he could have even won that fight. You know, it's a tight one, but I got to go with Tavares on this one. I haven't really been impressed on Silva the last couple fights. So minus 163 Tavares. That's where I'm going with it. Over under. Yeah, I would say pretty clearly over. And actually, that's plus money right now on Bet99, plus 100 for over 2.5. I think that's looking good. It's a juicy betting line. I'll put a little sprinkle on that, as Yanni the Greek likes to say. Plus 100 over 2.5. That's my suggestion there. And now we're at the main event. The heavyweights. I gotta say, I mean, people are so high on Blades. They love Curtis Blades. I gotta say, I like him as a person, but honestly, I don't know what I truly do not see what everybody else is seeing. I don't know. He gets hit a lot. Like, he gets hit way too much. And at heavyweight, you can't do that. And he's going against literally the one guy that you cannot get hit against. He's got a ridiculous reach. Pavlovich has a ridiculous reach. Here we go. R&R says, Pavlovich is my pick personally, only because I feel Blades is going to be scared of the power. Yeah. I don't know if he's going to be scared. And to be honest, I think that's the problem, is that I don't think he's, I mean, maybe he could get in close enough for some grappling, but to be honest, like I said, he gets hit so much. He gets clipped every single fight. And literally every single person that has been clipped by Pavlovich has been finished immediately. So I just don't see how he wins this. He's gonna get hit eventually. I just don't see how he overcomes getting hit like that. I don't know. I just personally don't see it. And like you said too, is he going to be scared of the power? I don't know if he is, but he should be. Because if he's not scared, he's going to get knocked out for sure. So yeah, I don't know. I just think eventually, first round, second round, Pavlovich is going to get something in there and he's going to get a finish. I don't know. And he's also, by the way, really tall. He's not going to be an easy person to take down. So even from that perspective, I don't know. Like, can Blades get the takedown consistently over and over again and keep him down all 5 rounds and not get hit? I don't know. I'm not convinced, which is why the betting line to me is pretty surprising, I would say. Plus 137. Plus 137 for Pavlovich. That seems like a no-brainer to me. I mean, the guy has, what is it, 3 in a row that are less than a minute knockouts, like, and he's gotten finishes over every single person he's faced in the UFC except for Overeem, who knocked him out, which is insane. But other than that, like, I don't know, like, nobody's even been able to get close enough to him to do anything. So I don't really see how Blades is going to be the one to do that. I don't know. That's just me. But especially at plus 137, even just from a betting perspective, you gotta put money on that. You gotta. There's no way you don't put money on plus 137 for somebody who's gotten 3 sub-minute knockouts. You are correct. It is a very different matchup coming from Derek and Tuivasa, correct, for sure. But if you even watch, because I rewatched the Shamil Abdurakhimov, that's a tough one, Shamil fight. I watched that one again. He took a couple of those punches, and we know Shamil, he can get hit quite a bit too. Even he couldn't take it. I mean, I know he's not Curtis Blades. I know Shamil's not running in there with the grappling, but I don't know. We've seen before. Blades got knocked out by Lewis. He got knocked out by, who did he? Was it Rosenstrike? Blades got knocked out by somebody else too. Anytime, and that's really the point. Anytime that Curtis Blades faces a knockout artist like that, he gets knocked out every single time. So I don't see how this gets any different. And I even watched, actually, if you watch Curtis Blades and Chris Dawkins, that to me was the biggest one, because even Chris Dawkins landed quite a few times on on Curtis Blades. If you're getting landed on by Chris Dawkins and you're fighting Pavlovich, who's like way taller, way longer, I don't know. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't know. I'm picking Pavlovich all day. I don't know. That's how I'm seeing it. Over under, obviously at 1.5. It is a heavyweight fight. He does have a lot of first round finishes. I get it. I don't know. Is there even really a whole lot of value? Minus 140 for under 1.5. I might even go over 1.5 just because of the value of it. Not sure. Not sure. Blades got knocked out by Lewis and then Ngannou. Oh, yeah, that's right. It was Ngannou. Yeah. 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 No, that is a solid point that it was Ngannou and Lewis. I mean, but I mean, it's because of their power. Because, and that's really the point that I keep saying too, is it's like they're one hit, they're like one hit wonders, like Derek Lewis, if he hits you one time clean, that's it. Ngannou, he hits you one time clean, that's it. Pavlovich, it kind of is the same thing. He hits you good one time, you're probably done. That's probably it. So the similarities, I don't know, you can't, it's just a trend. If it's a trend, it's hard to buck a trend like that, especially when it's getting knocked out like that. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And then I've got one prelim I'm going to talk about, and then that'll be it. That would be Brady Heastand, Dana Batgeti. I don't know. I'm picking this one because it's an exciting one to watch. I'm going with Dana on this one, but I could see how Heastand could somehow get out of this. He keeps getting absolutely rocked in his fights, like dismantled on the feet, and somehow he still ends up getting through it. This time, though, I don't think so. I don't think he's going to be able to get through that. I mean, Dana hits way harder than the other guys. He's a finisher. I think this is going to be the time where Heastand actually does get finished. That's kind of what I'm thinking here. I don't know. It really is a tight one though. We'll see what the odds are like here. What do we got? What do we got? They're also favoring that Getty minus 145. I think that's pretty fair. Yeah, I'm still going with Dana on this one. Minus 145. Looks good. Looks good. Especially with he stand. I don't know. That was a weird one with the Fernie Garcia one because I really thought Fernie Garcia was going to knock him out, and he drops him within the first 30 seconds. And I'm like, okay, well, Garcia just got the first round knockout that I thought he was going to get. But then he kept going the whole fight, and he ends up winning. So it's like he could do it again. I don't know. It's a weird guy. It's one of those weird guys where it's like he's either going to get knocked out now or he's going to get drop down and then somehow edge out a decision, and then I look like an idiot for picking the other guy multiple times. I don't know. One of those weird guys. I hate betting against people like that. It's really fucking irritating. But that's the way I'm going with it. Baghetti minus 145. Over under. It is actually set at the under right now. Minus 163 for under 2.5. Yeah, I'm going that way too. I did just say he didn't get finished though. Man, this is a tough one, but it's going to be exciting. That's why I'm talking about it. I'm still going the under though. Minus 163, under 2.5. Baghetti has, I had it in here in my notes, how many first round finishes he has. I think it's three. Yeah. 3 first round finishes for Dana. And we've seen he stand get dropped by everybody in the UFC so far. Well, there's only two people so far, but he's gotten dropped really bad. I think this is going to be the one where he gets the finish. I don't know. That's the way I'm going with it. And that's it for the picks. That is it for the picks today. Unless R&R has any questions, I will be heading out right now. Yeah, if you want to talk about any other sports, Area 51 has got you covered. They've got all the other sports. I've got all the MMA stuff. All my socials are linked below. That's where I post my bonuses, my favorite performances of the night. That's Instagram, Twitter. Of course, the YouTube and Twitch is down there as well. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Next week. That's what we always do. Next week, we've got, of course, talking about this one. When do I stream normally? Right now on Wednesdays. It is on Wednesdays. I always stream from 4 Pacific time to about 6-ish. It depends on how many cards we got, because sometimes I talk about Battlefield Fight League, the Canadian promotions, so Unified Battlefield. I talk about those sometimes. But yeah, usually end at about 6, so 4 to 6 Pacific Standard Time on Wednesdays. What was I saying? Oh yeah, next week another Apex fight card. Have to struggle through one more Apex card until we get to the next pay-per-view, UFC 288, I think. That's going to be a good one. Sadly, that card was nuked when Oliveira fell off of it. Sad. I was really looking forward to that one. But anyway, off topic, but what do you think about the welterweight division at this moment? I'll put the question up there so people know what I'm talking about. The welterweight division. Well, who do we got here? We got Leon at the top. And I mean, I was going to say, I don't think anybody's beating Leon anytime soon, but I got to say, man, Chimaev can do anything. That man can beat anybody. I really do think that. I mean, he's just unbelievable. I don't know if he could beat Leon, but that would be a fight I'd like to see. Colby, I don't know why they keep running with Colby. I guess because there's nobody else really coming up. I got to say, it is one of the weirdest divisions, and UFC 288 needs something to save it. Yeah, they did put on, I believe, who was it? Was it Mitchell and Ievloyev or something? That's not a bad fight, but is it up to the level of Dariush and Oliveira? No, absolutely not. So, yeah, well, you know what needs something to save? Holy shit, UFC 289 is looking like fuck. Like, I mean, I am from Vancouver. I live in Vancouver, and I'm still not sure if I'm gonna go. Like, it's easily the worst pay-per-view lineup we've seen in a long time, headlined by quite possibly the least interesting trilogy fight of all time. That's the card that you need to save. Gilbert Burns is talking about saving the UFC 288 card, but that would be 3 fights in such a short time. I actually heard that too, and to me, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for Burns. It's so quick. I was thinking that too. I was like, he was just in Miami. Like, what are you talking about? That's way too fast. Way too fast. And I mean, I know he didn't really have a hard time. It is sad for Canadian fight fans. Yes, it is. You're from Ontario. That's really cool. Nice, nice. It's too bad. I mean, yeah, I actually thought they were going to go to Toronto, to be honest. And then I heard Calgary, which would have also made sense, but of course they weren't sure. Apparently, it was because of the Calgary Flames. They thought they were probably going to be making the playoffs, so they decided not to go that way. I understand. They didn't end up making the playoffs though, so that sucks for them. But yeah. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, I think that's too quick for Burns, to be honest. I would like to see him get the title shot though. I think that would. I think it makes more sense than Colby. But I mean, again, Colby, he fought Usman a couple times. Excuse me, a couple times. So from that perspective, I get why they're doing it, but it's just weird. Like, he hasn't fought in a long time, and then that whole weigh-ins thing. I don't know. It's just so weird. I just don't like it. It just leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Like, this guy didn't do shit, and now he's gonna get a title shot. I don't know. It's just so weird. And then they're so definitive about it. Now Dana seems to be open about it. Burns getting the shot. I don't know. But are we going to get it at UFC 288? Not a chance. I mean, it's too late. And Leon, I mean, what? Yeah, I mean, Leon's not going in there. Oh, yeah, I guess though, Burns could come in and fight somebody else. But then at that point, then who is Burns going to fight? Like, there's nobody in the top 10 that can fight him on that short notice, I don't think. Oh, yeah, maybe. I think they were thinking maybe Chiesa could do that quick. That'd be a great matchup for him. So that would be good. But there's not really a whole lot of options, too. That's the problem. I think Canada just needed to wait until later in the year. March just had so many good fights. Yeah, I should put that up there so people don't think I said that. But yeah, but they waited so long. They waited so long. We waited so long for this. I think we just got caught at the wrong time. And you know what I was thinking, actually? Because when this card was announced, I was trying to figure out who was going to be on it. And I specifically said to myself, I was like, there has to be a title shot. So who hasn't had a title shot? Who hasn't defended their belt recently? And the only one that I could think of was Amanda Nunes. And I was like, the only one that makes sense is Aldana, but it's like, apparently that's not happening. So who else does Nunes fight? And it was kind of like, Pena doesn't make any sense, so they're not going to do that. Turns out they did. Um, and then who else was it? There was another one where I was thinking, I was like, okay, maybe they'll put Nunes against her. Oh yeah, somebody like, was it Chasson? No, Fiojo, maybe? I think it was Fiojo that I was thinking. I was like, okay, somebody like that could be getting a random title shot against Nunes. Otherwise, maybe we see a featherweight Amanda Nunes. And then there was like, okay, maybe if it's not Amanda Nunes, I could see Zhang Wei Li coming in. I mean, Vancouver, heavy Asian population. Could have seen that. I could have seen Zhang Wei Li go in there. But who's fighting Zhang Wei Li? Then you get into the problem of that. Like, who's fighting Zhang Wei Li for the belt? Can Zhang Wei Li lose, cut down to 115 that quick? I don't know. I don't know. There were so many things like that where it's like, I just don't see who's going to be headlining this card. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, exactly. It's like, I don't really know who's headlining, who's going to be headlining this card. And then funny enough, as soon as I said to myself, I was like, it's probably going to be Amanda Nunes. I see online they announce Amanda Nunes and Pena. I'm like, ah, fuck. I was kind of hoping I was wrong about that one. Not that I don't like Amanda Nunes. I just think it's kind of a weird, it's just a strange matchup to go with. That being said, what I saw on the MMA Hour, because I don't know if you watched that, but with Ariel Helwani, of course, I watched that and I watched the interview with Juliana Pena, and I gotta say, she's got me a little more interested. And she's also got me thinking, you know what? Nunes really doesn't want this fight. And it also kind of does seem like maybe she is on her way to retiring. And when she said that, when she said, I don't think well, she clearly doesn't want the fight. But when she said all that, I was like, you know what? It actually wouldn't be completely insane that Nunes might actually lose this getting submitted by Juliana Pena and then doesn't want to fight. She might retire after this. Like, it sounds terrible, but I actually could envision a scenario where that happens, where Juliana Pena is just extremely motivated. She does, yeah, right? Yeah. That's what I'm thinking too. I'm like, I could envision a scenario where the extremely motivated Juliana Pena comes in there, gets a second submission, and Nunes just says, "You know what? I'm going to focus on my family. I'm done. See ya." And then either calls it a career, or maybe we see her one or two more times in the future, maybe for some big money fights. Like maybe we see Valentina next year or something, or maybe we see Aldana because that's what we wanted to see. I don't know, but I could envision that scenario. I don't know. And it scares me because it's like, I don't want to see, I really don't, that would be painful to see a second time like that. I don't know. Let's see what we see here. I think we could see one of two outcomes: a Nunes retirement or Pena using her popularity after the loss to go into WWE. That's an interesting thought. Pena, and she really is somebody that could be, she did say that a lot about WWE. I could see that. I could see that. I just think that if she, I don't know, because Nunes is one of those people, kind of like Valentina, where it's like if you beat her, she gets just so pissed off, like, fuck you for beating me. I'm going to beat you even worse now. So that's just kind of the person she seems to be. So it's kind of like, that's why I'm kind of like, I don't know if she would retire after losing like that. I don't know, because she might just get so pissed off that she goes and like, fuck that. I'm gonna beat you again after this. But then of course, then you're like, or what are we gonna do? A quadrilogy? Because Nunes lost again? What are we doing here? Are we doing a quadrilogy? Then Nunes wins again, then it's 2-2. What are we doing? Are we doing a 5-fight series with Nunes and Pena? Like, where does it end? I don't know. That's where it gets really really outrageous if you start thinking about stuff like that. I hope I'm not right about that. That would be awful. I don't want to see this 5 times. Um, but I really, really could see though Nunes losing this fight, and yeah, that might be it. Which is actually kind of a motivation for me going to going to see this, because this could be a Nunes retirement fight, really. You just see Nunes's daughter in the embedded and the fights themselves. Yeah. And she has said over and over again that she wants to spend more time with them and, you know, not, go through all the training that you need to do to be that dominant champion. So yeah, it is pretty hard to ignore. And like I said, before that interview, I didn't even think of that. I was just like, "Oh, Nunes is gonna walk through her a second time? Like, why are we doing this fight?" But, yeah, when she said that, I was like, "Huh, I'm probably gonna be putting some money on Juliana Pena now. I actually probably will." Yeah. Anyway, I really gotta go now. It's been great having a conversation with somebody for once. We don't normally get a lot of comments, so thank you very much for contributing. I will always do this for anybody that wants to have a conversation. It's who I am. And also, it brings up some nice conversation, some nice content, some hot content straight out of the oven. Um, but yeah, and it's nice to think about these things because, yeah, I didn't even think about that. Pena going to WWE. Yeah, possibly. I could see her doing that. I mean, she's obviously not as big as, um, oh, now I'm forgetting her name. Oh my goodness. Ronda Rousey. Fuck. How did I forget Ronda Rousey? Obviously not as successful as her, but yeah, she's got the personality for sure. She definitely has it. I mean, I would say she's actually gone full heel. She really has, and I love it. I love it when people go full heel. I consider myself quite often to be going full heel. I do that sometimes on Twitter. I just don't give a fuck. So I love it when people do that. So I could definitely see Pena doing that, and I never really thought about that. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, I will be back next Wednesday as well. I hope to see you here. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time. And of course, I don't have my thing set up right now. Where is it? Where is it? Where's my outro? And we got another comment. She has a lioness persona and brand. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. She actually has been coming out with some cool merch too. She did that on the MMA Hour as well. Anyway, thanks for watching. I will see you next time.